Ugh, what a mess. Hey guys, before you get started, make sure you click that subscribe button, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Hey guys, let's talk about that unexpected Spider-Man news we got yesterday. So according to Deadline, Marvel and Sony have kind of come to an impasse on their mutual production of future Spider-Man movies, and Sony will no longer have access to Kevin Feige as a producer for this series. So what does this mean? Well, basically it means Spider-Man is out of the MCU. Yep, now there's a lot going on here, and some of the dust still hasn't completely settled, and the social media outrage, mostly focused against Sony, is huge. So some of this may get adjusted over time, but right now it's not looking good. So what happens now? Well, there's a lot of things in the works. As of right now, Sony has 2 more Spider-Man movies planned, but they do not have John Watts signed to return to direct. Apparently, Tom Holland is obligated to 1 more movie, and clearly, based on the statements they've made, Sony plans on continuing the story and the cliffhanger from Far From Home. It is a little bit of a complicated mess, since Kevin Feige's story really was built around Spider-Man becoming the new Iron Man. Sony's going to have to do some serious rewriting to make this work, and it's not going to be easy. Now, most of the blame is focused on Sony, and that's probably mostly fair. But Disney has gone from receiving 5% of the dollar gross and now wanting about 50%. That's a pretty big ask for Sony. Now, I would keep in mind, if you look at Sony's box office results over the last couple years, half of Far From Home every other year is better than about 95% of the films that they make. Venom and Jumanji are the only 2 other movies that have come even close to the kind of money that Far From Home made. And 50% of $1.2 billion is a lot better than 100% of $400 million. Also consider the massive MCU bounce the films get every time a big Avengers movie or other event film happens in the Marvel Universe. None of this will be available to Sony if the contract with Marvel Studios is broken. Now, Sony issued a number of statements last night. At first, they claimed that this dispute is simply over producer credit and negotiations are ongoing, before adding that Feige had worked on a number of other Sony movies without receiving that credit. This means those good Sony movies like Venom and Into the Spider-Verse had Feige as an influence in their production. However, by the end of the night, Sony issued a couple of tweets that seemed to try to place the blame squarely on Disney. I think at the end of the day, it's sort of simple. Disney got a bit greedier, and Sony is just stupid. There is one other thing to consider here on why Disney is asking for so much money. Marvel has a ton of new characters, and Kevin Feige is one person. The report tends to suggest that Feige simply doesn't have enough time to work on these films. I think it's a variation of that. I think the reality of the matter is you have X number of hours per week that you can actually work. And should those efforts be focused on movies that Marvel would make 5% of the returns, or 50% of the returns, or even better, 100% of the returns? It doesn't make sense for Feige to spread himself thin and do Spider-Man movies and not focus on the properties that Disney owns and will get full credit and reimbursement for. It seems like Sony's claim that he doesn't have enough time isn't true. It's more so they just simply don't want to pay him for that time. Now, with that said, I'm really upset. I would love to see Spider-Man stay in the MCU. He literally is the face of Marvel Comics. I don't think this battle is over yet, and this internet backlash that Sony is receiving is epic, with the fans clearly placing the blame squarely on them. We don't know what Sony has in store for the whole overall future of Spider-Man, but I have to imagine they would try to integrate him into the Venomverse. Whether fans will accept this or not, we'll have to wait and see. This is all really ironic because yesterday we did a report about their record profits, and it appeared this would appease Sony investors in several ways, but I guess the 50% was a little too much. We'll have to wait and see how this all pans out. What do you think about Spider-Man going back to Sony and being pulled out of the MCU? Sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you press like below, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Peace.